I often wonder how people can be so certain about what's possible. How one simple belief can shape their entire world. Just think about it. Beliefs shape behaviour, and behaviour creates the reality we live in. So when someone says, "You don't listen to me," that means you don't love me. Well, what they're really saying is, they're building a world where love can only be shown through listening. But isn't love so much more than just that? When you really start to think about it, isn't it interesting how love can express itself in so many different ways? Ways you might not have even noticed. Isn't it fascinating? Just by shifting that belief ever so slightly, you can change the way you view things. Like this, if you're not listening, well, that doesn't mean you don't love me. But I'm wondering, might you be listening in a different way? It's just a thought, isn't it? Sometimes when you really pay attention, you realise you're actually being listened to in ways you didn't even expect. And maybe, just maybe, what you thought was missing is already there, silently growing. Isn't that something to reflect on? It's like this, when someone says, "Well, I've been burned before by that, and I don't want to take the risk again." That's the thing, isn't it? Avoiding risk by not acting. It's like wrapping yourself in a blanket of safety. But you're also closing your eyes to all possibilities that lie just beyond that comfort zone. And the more you avoid, the more you miss out on, don't you think? Isn't it strange how staying safe might actually keep you from what you desire the most? When someone says governments cause corruption, it's such a strong belief, isn't it? But have you ever wondered if that belief, when held too tightly, might just cause you to think differently about people, about yourself too? After all, governments, they're made up of people, and aren't we all human in the end? So if governments cause corruption, what might that say about the way we all see things, the way we all act? If you really think about it, doesn't it make you reflect on your own choices? How do you contribute to the world around you? Now let's dive a little deeper, shall we? When someone says, "If you love me, you'll wait to have sex with me," that's one way to look at love, isn't it? But you see, that belief also carries its own weight, its own consequences. So what happens if you keep holding on to that belief? What would it look like if it's framed in such a way? Might you end up alone, waiting for someone that never comes? Or maybe, just maybe, it's the belief itself that locks you in place, keeps you from experiencing the richness of connection that's right there. I remember someone saying heart disease causes death. And there it is, isn't it? A truth that feels so solid. But there's a twist, you see. Thinking like this, holding on to that belief so tightly, does something else, doesn't it? It tightens up your body, raises your stress levels, and over time, it's not the disease that's the real issue, but the fear itself that can end up doing the most damage. It's almost as if the belief carries the seed of its own consequence, don't you think? Now, have you ever heard someone say, crime and poverty, they go hand in hand? Isn't that a common belief? But if you stop and think about it, doesn't it imply that poverty makes people evil? As though there's no hope, no room for change? What if the truth is different? What if the belief itself is the real crime? And it's the mindset that keeps us trapped. Doesn't that make you wonder what you could do if you freed yourself from it? You see, when you're caught in belief, the world becomes shaped by it. But when you question it just like that, when you explore it, you realise your mind is more powerful than you ever imagined. Imagine just for a moment. There's always a way out. Every obstacle, every challenge, is nothing more than an opportunity in disguise. And the moment you shift the way you think about it, the moment you let go of the old beliefs, the ones felt so true, something miraculous happens. The world around you begins to change. It's fascinating, isn't it? And here's the thing, these patterns, they're all just reflections of the way we interact with the world. It's as if the world itself is a mirror, and all the beliefs you hold, they're like the lens that you use to see it. The more you challenge the lens, the more clearly you'll see through it. So when you notice something challenging you, when you throw that objection your way, it's not about defending your position, it's about asking yourself, what is the real belief beneath this? And when you can neutralize that belief within yourself, when you understand it deeply, you'll see your response will shift too. It's almost as though you no longer need to fight against it, because you've already seen it for what it is, a belief, a thought that's simply just waiting for you to shift it. Isn't that a beautiful realization? And what if, just what if, all this time, the real key to transforming your world was hidden in the language you use? The way you speak to yourself, the way you speak to others. And as you begin to see it, you start to realize by simply playing with words, you can start to create new patterns of thought, new ways of being. So next time you hear someone say, "You're always asking for my money like I'm a bank," just pause for a moment. You might smile and say, "Well, I'm banking on you being a bit more generous today." You see, it's all in the words you choose, the subtle shifts that can disarm the tension and create a new space for possibility. When you master this, you realize you can influence not only your own world, but the world of everyone around you. It's as though you've opened the door to endless opportunities just by the way you choose to speak.